Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Litecoin's price chart, and everything seems to be going according to what we said in the previous update, but there are some nuance here and there. So, first things first, if you remember, the last time that we talked about LTC, we were right around these areas, and the idea was that this move on the downside seems a lot like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave, meaning this might be the beginning of a new move down. Okay, it's very important to understand that. And back then we talked about the idea of having an A, B, C zigzag, and in terms of the sub waves, you know what's happening. 5 wave down into a correction for wave B, let's say ABC, and yet another 5 wave on the downside into RC leg. Now let's go on the live chart and see what is happening. And the question is, can we argue to about this point? This is the end of our wave 5, which is going to be on a higher degree into an A leg, followed by, let's say, sure, probably an ABC, maybe even a WXY, honestly doesn't really matter, into wave B. And is this a 5 wave on the downside? So the answer to that, I think, should be divided to two parts. Number one, the answer is yes, it can be a 5 wave on the downside. Here is how. You can say maybe this is 1, this is 2, another move down into wave 3 to about this point, correction for 4, another move on the downside into wave 5. And since, as you can see in this area, we are clearly having overlapping of the waves between our wave 4 and 2, then okay, this narrows our option to only and only an ending diagonal in form of a wedge structure into our C leg right in here. So here's the situation. Technically, you can say our ABC down in LTC is complete, and from here we can expect some massive moves on the upside. And that brings me to part 2. You see, you can say that, but is it actually likely? At the moment, I think that can be up for debate, and right now we should be a bit patient and careful. And question is, what do we want to see in order for us to be optimistic? You see, in terms of Elliott waves, if you want to argue that we are going to have our final low around here, then okay, off of the lowest low in this area, you have to be able to find a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up. This specific example is called an impulse. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, wave 3 is simply not allowed to be the smallest wave. And in terms of the sub waves, 5 wave up into wave 1, 3, and 5. And by the way, if you are wondering why am I talking about having an impulse off of the lowest low in every single video, that's because about 85% of you in each video are new viewers. So, you know, I feel like I should say this in every single update so you can have an understanding of what am I doing. And for those other 15%, I would like to apologize for being repetitive and boring. Anyway, for wave 2 and 4, we can have different counts, but you know, let's say in here as an example, WXY into wave 2 and then ABC into wave 4. And here is another very important point. Having a 5 wave off of the lowest low can be a very good sign, but the more important bullish sign is going to be the move after it, which has to be a slow and choppy one, meaning this must be a correction structure. Okay, it's very important to understand that. Why is it important? Because I think in LTC we may have something called an ABC expanded flat, which looks like this. This is our initial move up into a correction for wave B, which in it we're going to take this initial low and another move on the upside into our C leg, a very strong one. And in it, as you can see, we are absolutely going to take the height of our A leg. In case that we are not going to take it, this pattern is called an ABC running flat. Nonetheless, the sub waves for both of these patterns are very much similar. ABC up into A, ABC to B, and pay attention, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside into our C leg. So what is it that I'm trying to tell you? I'm trying to say there is a scenario which in it you may very well identify off of the lowest low in here, a 5 wave on the upside, but that may not necessarily be part of the bullish process. Now let's go on the live chart, see what is going on. Okay, so let's say so far this is absolutely 5 wave down into our A leg, no problem at all. Followed by that, I believe you can argue that maybe we are having something like this. This can be maybe like probably I'm gonna say to about this point and a leg correction for wave B, and like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the downside into wave C. And this is the key, pay attention. This can be a 1 correction for wave 2, a strong move up into wave 3, correction for 4, and yet another good move on the upside into wave 5. And on a higher degree, pay attention please, these might be the subwaves for just a simple A, B, C expanded flat structure, meaning what's next? We are actually going to have from these areas a very strong move down, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 without a lot of overlapping of the waves in order to take the lowest low down here about $112, and that 5 wave can be into the C leg of this A, B, C zigzag structure, and then hopefully that will be at the end of our correction structure on the downside in Litecoin. This scenario is also possible. So question is, what should we do at the moment? Here's the situation. After having a 5 wave on the upside, one way or the other, we are going to have a move down, whether we are looking bullish or bearish. But that's the key point. You see, you need to pay full attention to the shape of the move on the downside that we are going to get soon, because the move down itself, honestly, it's not really that important. It is sort of kind of predictable. What really matters is the shape of it. If we get a strong initial face down, that's not going to be a good sign. On the other hand, if we get a very slow move down, which between our pullbacks up, you're just constantly able to identify overlapping of the waves, you know what? Fair enough. Maybe we are actually looking bullish in Litecoin, and the low of our correction is already right in here about $112. So for the next 72 hours, I'm going to say probably this move is going to, after having a very small consolidation pattern, continue a little bit more. But please understand that after it, we are probably primed for a decent move on the downside, and you need to again pay full attention to the shape of it, because that sort of kind of is going to determine what's next. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in LTC's chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.